We're podcasting in a treehouse. Is that a secure profession?
Hey, everybody.
We are up in the treehouse once again, and we are excited about today's conversation.
This is Uncommon Cast episode officially 3?
I think
We kind of had a
Officially.
0.5
officially,
in there.
yeah.
I think official
Had our little
episode 3.
yeah.
Last week you might have tuned in for our conversation, our weird conversation, which was just a fun mini cast. And so,
To get you excited about getting
Yeah.
weird with us, which
That's
we'll talk
right.
about later today, too.
yeah. And so today we're back in the treehouse. It's a frigid 50 degrees here in San Diego.
And no better way to stay warm in polar vortex San Diego than busting out the mimosas.
That's right. So if you're new to the Uncommon Cast, we have a tradition of an alcoholic beverage with every podcast recording. So this morning is brought to you by mimosas because it's 10 a.m. and mimosas are the socially acceptable way to drink in the morning, and Bloody Marys are gross. So that's how we landed here. So this morning we have a guest with us that we're super excited to introduce you to.
And she's not really even a guest to us. Pam is core to our Uncommon team. And as we've been going through all this journey, she's been going on in her own professional journey about stepping out into a hope and a dream and something she's always wanted to do, but perhaps kept on the shelf.
And the thing I love about that is it very closely mirrors our experience with launching into Uncommon Good. So all of us here this morning in the treehouse know a little something about what it means to tearfully. That's not a word. Being full of terror.
Fearfully.
But it's like more intense than that. Stepping into something that doesn't exist yet and leaving the security of something that was and something that was known. And so we're going to talk about that today. So if you are finding yourself on such a precipice, then maybe you will glean some fun things today, or just be encouraged by crazies who are willing to do crazy things.
I feel like we need to add a bell for wonderful vocabulary at some point. You know, precipice was good. Pam pointed that out. An earlier podcast episode, there was some word that we just all had to pause on.
Yeah.
Yes,
I like
we need
that.
Dawn's vocabulary
A
bell.
ding.
Ding ding for 10 points.
There's a great quote from our past. There was a funny moment where we were sitting in a meeting and Dawn said a word I didn't know, and I was like, sometimes, Dawn, I only know what you're saying in context of what we're talking about. What is that word? I don't even remember what the word is, but Dawn has big words.
I like precise language. That's what it boils down to. Why say something less precise when you can use a fancy word that really gets at the heart of what you're trying to say?
Like tearfully, since that was so clear.
And if you don't have a word, you make one up. Like, we're not above that here at Uncommon Good. We don't play by the rules, people.
All right.
Hey, so Pam, tell us a little bit about what you do, because oftentimes we've been churchy ministry world, and you are not in churchy ministry world. So tell us about your background, what you have been doing, and then we'll go into what your dreams are to do in the future.
Okay, so hi guys. I am an interior designer by trade. I have known all of you all for many years. I like to say that that Ryan and Dawn helped raise my children, so that's a great asset. But I've been doing interior design for about 13 years, and I work for the biggest design and remodeling firm in San Diego. And I enjoy very much what I do. It's very construction-based also. So really hands-on in that, in kind of being out in the builder world. And I have felt for the last few years that I am on a treadmill and somebody else is pushing the buttons. And so I'm running, and then I'm relaxing, and then I'm, going uphill, and then I'm going downhill. And I have always struggled a little bit with my industry and the money part of it and what people invest themselves in, and how much is wasted and how much of it is about money. And since I went to school for interior design, I have wanted to find a way to do what I do that is in the service of other people, so that it's helping people, because there's a lot of need out there for that. Prior to interior design, I have a hospitality background. Started that in high school, just kind of landed at the Rancho Bernardo Inn and stayed. Met my husband there, married a great chef, and then we soon realized after baby number 3 that is not a good industry for family. And that's when I stayed home and went back to school. So now I'm on my way out of the corporate and interior design and construction world, and about to go out on my own and be an independent designer, and have really loved kind of jumping into the Uncommon Good team and doing whatever I can, to pull all of my knowledge of hospitality or events or architecture or zoning and codes and all that kind of fun stuff onto the team.
So here's something that I love, because I want to get to the point where we kind of press into how integral your faith was in kind of coming to the realization that you needed to make a change. But what I love and what I would love for people to hear is this truth that you had a heart to serve. And a lot of times we think that serving has to be contrary to what we're good at. In fact, serving has to be something, if we're truly serving it, probably we don't like it very much. And we're not doing what we're good at. We're just like stapling papers, or we're going somewhere that terrifies us to do something that feels really scary and foreign. But can you speak a little bit about how you've been able to use your gifts and what it has felt like to serve in a way that has like actually used the best parts of you?
Yes. So I think for me, I'm in my faith background, in my church background, I have longed for a very long time to be more involved in whether it's church or, a faith community. And that's always fallen short for me. So it's something I've prayed about and, kind of really had a hard time navigating how do I live in the secular world and do what I do and raise kids and, have a job that consumes me and then find this time. And so, when the light bulb goes off and you're like, what if those two things were the same thing? That's just where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's amazing right now. So
how did you come to so you spent your life thinking that they were separate things.
Yeah.
Up until very recently.
Yeah.
So how did you come to the realization these can be actually the same thing?
Like gifts and skills and desires,
right,
all on the same path.
Yeah. So I really just completely accidental happened into a meeting where we were, the Glover Project was starting, and I just happened to be there.
What was the Glover Project?
So the Glover Project was a project where a team of people came together and through, I think, FFCC started it, and we helped rebuild a family's home that was very dilapidated, and they really needed help. And so it could have been simple, like come in and just fix the things that needed fixed.
But then you came on board.
But then I came on board, and I was like, wait, hold on. And I just was able to rally. And I really stressed some people out with my rallying, because I was like, if you don't call me back in 10 minutes, I'm calling your manager and getting this, thing done. So I was able to just, pull people together and pull vendors and ask them, for help, because one of the things at my company that I was involved with was a giving back team. Mm-hmm. And so we were doing community service projects like once every couple months. And so I just said, I want this to be, I want to utilize the team for that, for, the upcoming one. And so, and people like to help. So that, sometimes I think, when you call on them and it's not just, again, about money, they're doing something special as well. So you're giving them that gift. So, I just really dove into that, and it ended, magically and beautifully. And, there were lots of tears and, just joy all around. And, that was incredibly fulfilling for me. And I knew before that is what I wanted to do, but it's, how do you do that on a regular basis? So that for me was, when I knew I had to get out of the corporate job. And then, I had previously kind of had a dream about, I've had my own business license for many years, and it's called Serendipity Design. And what did I want to turn that into? And I had thought about, building a retreat center where I would have a design studio, but also have a place where people could come and do church retreats or do, art retreats or something like that, and do events and do weddings. And so the first conversation I had with Ryan, where he started telling me a little bit about this vision, I was like, holy cow. Like all the neurons are firing in my brain, and I'm like, this is meant to be connected. So I think for me, that was the first time in my life where I'm like, oh gosh, I really need to not try to be in control of this, because that's hard. That's very hard. So I just kind of let go and let God and waited for it to start unfolding. And Ryan, as he is, always does, says, I've got a book for you to read. So I bought The Last Arrow and had a lot of faith.
Which is always the book he's currently reading, usually.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And so I think my first meeting with Uncommon Good, you called me kind of, on the fly and said, hey, we're getting an architectural team together. Can you be there on Wednesday morning? Whatever. It just happened that I had space on my schedule, so I did that. And then Dawn had sent me a text asking if my daughter could be on the event team. And I was like, hey, what about me? And I think you were like, you need to say no to things. Yeah. And I was like, I can't. This is literally what I can do in my sleep. So event planning is, and hospitality background is like, that's ingrained in me. So I've, whatever I can do in that vein, I've wanted to do. And now when I look at, I kind of stand back and look at it, I do feel like it's, like a pointillism painting that's coming together, and like seeing all these little dots that are supposed to happen. And I've had to break the news to a couple clients that I'm leaving my job recently, and they're so supportive. And the thing that I keep saying is, this is a culmination of everything that's in my heart, and that I've always been known that I can do, and that I'm good at, and that I want to do. So the dream is to work in Uncommon Good and have, the experience of all of the hospitality background, all of the architectural, all of the design, all of that stuff that we're going to need in the future, while, working as an independent designer and doing, having that freedom.
So along those lines, I wanted to just say, you've been with us from the very first event, basically. So can you, and maybe not a lot of people in our audience know that, or our followers might not know that, but can you just tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with us?
I think, the first event was
the Old Poway Park.
It was at Old Poway Park.
Yeah.
It was at Templars Hall. And, one of the things I think I tend to do is sit back and say, what do you need? In this case, again, kind of stepping out, I'm like, no, you need this.
And thank you for that, by the way.
So whether it's,
you need this many
the restaurant depot
of
card that we can get into.
Gallons.
Yeah, how many pounds of chili? And, by the way, they're not always my resources. Sometimes I obviously have to tap into Brian. Yeah, I've been doing, I think, a lot of the event planning, finding space, negotiating those contracts, helping, to understand how and why and where we can be for our events. And then meanwhile, researching zoning and codes and, land, use and all those kind of exciting things that nobody else wants to look at.
Or no has the skills.
Totally. What's amazing is that your journey over the years has provided you with skills and knowledge that when we all join together, we're like, wow, we are so thankful for your skills and knowledge and experience.
And they're kind of random skills and knowledge and experience.
Totally.
And it's weird that it's like the exact skills and knowledge and experience that we required, which I think reminds me of this truth that I stumble across every now and again, which is that God wastes nothing. A lot of times we'll look at parts of our past and be like, what was that about? Or like, I really liked this thing, or I had interest in this area, but it seems like it's just like gone away. It's, you know, I'm on to other things now. And there are these incredible moments down the road where you can look back and be like, wow, all of those things now make sense for what I have to do right now.
Totally.
At this moment where I'm being called to step out.
Yeah.
I think so many of us can be dissatisfied in our current careers or our daily activities and what we're doing. And some of that dissatisfaction of our lives can be because we have skills and gifts and passions that are on a shelf and they're collecting dust. And we're like, why did we have that experience? Why did we gain that knowledge?
Why did that spark me so much?
Why did that spark me so much?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it comes to a point, and this is honestly what we hope for this year for all of our community, is that maybe it's time to take some of those things off the shelf and step into your gifts and skills and passions and take the risk to live into that. It lines up with this event coming up. We'll talk about the end, about getting weird. But Pam, I know that you stepping out independently now and going, God, these are my skills, my gifts, my passions. This is what I want to do with Serendipity Design. This is what I want to do with Uncommon Good for the community, to bless others. It comes with a lot of risk. And I remember 2 years ago, one of my last messages at my last ministry context was about how there is no need for faith when there is no risk. And I know that we've all lived into that. So can you talk a little bit about that? The incredible tie between faith and risk and living into a dream.
Yeah, so I think that it's very easy to stay scared and look at, I can't tell you how many times I pull out the spreadsheet of numbers that I stare at on a daily, or I'm at a stoplight and I pull out a calculator. Because, you know, money's scary, where you want to make sure that you are not risking things for your family or, you know, or just your, you know, general comforts of life. And I think we're apt to make excuses for that. And why do we stay in a spot that is comfortable even when it's really not comfortable? So there's things that, you know, at my work that are, you know, not always comfortable. But it's what I know, and I'm good at it, and I get through it. And so that'd be very easy to stay there. And have no outlet that, you know, is part of the faith connection. So I think, you know, that's the, you know, huge part, obviously, is just knowing that you are going to take this risk and that, you know, that God's holding you. I mean, that, and really believing that, because I really struggle with change. I mean, I had way too much change in my childhood, and so I'm like, hold on. And I'm a terrible leaver. I literally gave notice almost 6 months ago, so I'm still hanging on. So it's, you know, and then I'm like, well, you can call me, you know, if you need anything. I'm just not good at that part.
Well, it's a little bit of holding on to security too.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. So, but I think over the last year of being a part of Uncommon Good, you guys have inspired that. I mean, it's a huge risk that everybody's taken, and it's so rewarding. And when you have that joy of being fulfilled, you're willing to let go of maybe some of those comforts that you thought you needed, and also know that the sun is going to come up tomorrow, that you're still going to be okay. And that is what, having faith that you're meant to be in this spot. And that if you can let go of the reins of, trying to stay in control, it's going to be okay. And that's really, I'm a big believer in it now, because I feel like, man, I have never felt so meant to be in this spot.
We're to the point where we have to start wrapping up. But one thing that I just want to bring to the table before we do is the importance of community in risk taking, because one thing I've learned over the last 2 years of stepping out in this risk journey is that it's very lonely. It's really lonely to be doing something new and different, and to leave what was, and you're like venturing away. And if there weren't, people around me, if Ryan and Cody weren't on that journey with me, if you hadn't jumped on that journey and been inspired to do something similar, the fear would almost overtake you.
Oh, yeah.
You'd get out to the middle of the ocean and be like, this was crazy. I'm going to swim back. I'm leaving the boat. I'm swimming back.
Absolutely.
But when in those moments when you are afraid, you can look to your left and right and be like, I'm terrified, but at least we're in this together.
Right.
It kind of gives you that courage.
Yeah.
That, like, you can borrow the courage of the people around you. So how has that played out for you? How has community helped you take risks?
Oh, well, 100%. Looking to my left and right with you guys. But also going back to, what I was saying about always wanting to have that space where I had an involvement, that my faith was kind of, in the front line of my life and not just, on Sundays. I recognize now that this is the time that God has called me for, and that waiting was not in vain. It was actually about a year ago on a retreat with my girlfriend at Forest Home, and we were walking in the woods, and I was telling her about Uncommon Good, and she literally stopped in her tracks and turned around, and she said, "This is it. This is what you've been waiting for." And I was like, I know. It's, wow. Yeah, this is all of those, fallen short times of like, I'm going to join this group, or I'm going to, be on this team. It just didn't hit home. And now it's like everything's in its right place. So that community is what gives me that, I feel like, is lifting me and making me feel safer and, and secure.
I think your journey has been this, and our journey has been this, that oftentimes when we don't believe enough in ourselves, our community can believe in us for us, right?
Yeah.
Other people will have enough faith for you where you lack faith in living into your dreams and passions. And it's honestly the same with our faith in God. Honestly, when we're surrounded by people of faith, maybe where you have doubt, a friend can be strong in faith
do you
for
have
you
doubts?
and walk you. Yes, totally. Well, all this work, we're podcasting in a treehouse. Is that a secure profession, right? Right? But here's the thing. What we know is that comfort can slowly kill your soul. And when we hold on security and we shelve the things we're passionate about, we can become lifeless. And we may realize and wake up way later on when it's too late. So for all of us and for our listeners, we want to encourage you to live into your gifts and skills and passions. God has placed them in your heart for a reason. And they shouldn't be on the shelf collecting dust until we die, right? So honestly, as we wrap up, it's going to set us up for Sunday, because we have this Sunday night at Urge Common House in San Marcos with CJ Casiato about getting weird and living into our sacred weird that God has put in our hearts. Yeah. And as I think about our friends that are listening, you guys are so weird that I want you to live into your weirdness just like us. And you need to hear this Sunday night. So give us some more details about how to sign up, when and where.
Yeah, so you can go to uncommongoodsd.com/events. You'll see Wine and Words and Weirdness right on that page. You can click the sign up button. You can go to our Facebook page at Uncommon Good SD and find an event link there. You could also go to our Instagram at Uncommon Good SD, and the link is right there in our bio. And we really want you to come. We really, really think this is going to add value to your life.
Yes.
And so please sign up.
All right. Well, with all of that said, Pam, we thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
and
Thank
sharing
you.
your journey, for inspiring us to take risks, to lean into our faith. And if
And
you
climbing into a treehouse during
yeah,
polar
I'm
vortex.
excited to be in the
Totally.
treehouse.
and if you're out there and you need encouragement to lean into your faith, hit us up. We'd love to be those people to your left and right that cheer you on, that give you courage, that fumble alongside you. So we thank you for being a
Yes.
part of this uncommon community. Stay warm out there, people. It's chilly. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.